Right. So, guys, just as always in here, either put in the chat if you can, or if you're too busy rushing with a concussion, to say it out loud is fine. How many clients you've got currently on your roster, Carolyn? Let's see how many numbers we got. How's it going, Martin, Carol? We're just putting numbers in the chat here at the moment, seeing where people are at. It's the same in every August. Is always one of the worst months. It's just the way it is. The way I think of it though is like, don't have a panic with it. Use it as a time of like, right, like you say, argument, we're on this, right? This is an extra time to study. September's always a good month. If you can really get yourself in a good place from a education perspective, those clients will come back. And I've had a few. I've had Daniel, Mark, and I've got 2 other people that I need to chase up payment wise. So like I could be on the back of 4 or 5 people as well. It's just August, the way it is. Cool. So I think though personally, September is the best month of the year. I think the run up, like post holiday, I feel a bit fat. I think it's way more than the new year. Way more. What do you guys think? What do you think is the best month for business? Put that in the chat too.
I think January is quite a good one.
You think January? I think February is better than January. Because when I was a PT, January people are skint, and also they think they can do it themselves. They kind of go out post Christmas. They're like, oh, I'll do a bit of I'll get on a treadmill and I'll miss 1 cake and I'll be shredded. And then by February, like, oh shit, I need some help here. I think February.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, February and September. And for me, March and October. I'm a month later because I get that. Clients come. All you guys are broke in January. Clients start coming in February. March is where you go, oh crap, I don't know what to do with this client. And that's where March and October tend to have been, I think, are my best months. So 28, 14 online, 16 one-to-one. Good. Those numbers are growing, Nicola. 20, 52. Carol, how many people currently on your roster? Craig, welcome, dude. Stick in the chat how many people are on your roster. And for the people who've already put it in, tell me, out of those people, how many of them have got a clear goal and how many are on track to said goal? Couples on 21. 90%. 90% on track or 90% have the goal?
I have a goal now. After watching all your videos, I've now booked in a call with literally everyone last week.
Perfect.
To get them up to scratch.
If you put aside the fact how it's going to help your clients get results, my God, will it help your peace of mind? Because you know what you're achieving with people.
That spreadsheet is gold dust. That
good.
I can't remember which one. What it's called. The
goal setting tracker.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that one.
And you know what? And Shona, just on your point, by the way, on drop-offs and being a quiet month, have you noticed the last 2 days have been some of the highest attended calls we've had in months? So it makes you realise you're not alone. People have got more free time all of a sudden.
That's true, actually. The other call on Monday was mad. There was loads in that.
Loved it. I felt I was doing doing a TED talk. I haven't had that in about like 8-9 months. Call that busy. It's great. So 17 clear goal and all on track. So you just enjoy bobbling along. Cool. I love that. That's fantastic. 10 on track, 20 have goals. We've got a 50% target, which isn't bad. We've got some people to work on, but that just gives us something to get our teeth stuck into, which is good to see. 2022 on track. Remind me what Martin's was. 28. Okay, that's decent as well. Okay, that's brilliant. Awesome. Ashling, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Client numbers. Who has goals? Who's on track? Status check, and then we'll open the floor. I don't know if Craig is in earshot. If he is, how many people you got on your roster? 18 on track, 21 with goals. That's good. So we only got 4 people to bring up. Fantastic. Yeah. But like, if I'll give you an example. For example, I had 3 check-ins yesterday because I have 3 actual clients because I do this full time, right? But 2 of them the checkers were so easy because I had that clear goal. One of them has a clear goal, but he's sort of gonna let Summer kind of allow him to like take his foot off the gas a little bit. And that check-in is so much more like anxiety inducing because I'm just like, I have a goal. You don't seem to be acting towards the goal. You've given yourself a diet break. Did you tell me what's going on? Whereas the other two, it's just, it's a joy to check in with them. So the goal setting is not just for them, it's for your peace of mind. Hands down. Morning, Colin. How are we?
Oh, very well. Thank you, Simon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you absolutely fine, mate. Absolutely fine.
Sorry, I joined on late.
That's all right. No problem. Just stick in the chat for me. How many clients you got on your roster? How many of them have a clear goal? And how many of them on track for that goal? Just so we get a bit of a status check for yourself. 1-to-1, 20 out of 30 on track. Group, 50% track. 50% on track for group, Ashling, is good. Because I know you have a lot in your group. So that's a good number. Because you're not giving them the attention. You haven't got the same level of accountability. So 50% in a group is great. So whilst Colin and maybe Craig are doing that, open floor, guys. This is what these are about. Any questions, client struggles? We'll chat thyroid, leptin, ghrelin if you want. Like, whatever you feel you need help with.
Can I just ask something?
Yeah, I will, but I'm going to go Shona first because she so politely said, ask, please. And also, Nicola, we're losing your signal. So I'm going to go Shona first because she asked politely. And then we can find a good signal zone. I'll come to you, then I'll go to Harry. Shona.
I just had a question about... Oh, sorry, Nicola, sorry. I had a question regarding two clients who are stressed, definitely not stressed, but their sleep is shocking. It's very like inconsistent. So I'm wondering how can I improve that? Okay.
All right. So let's unpack this. So when you say sleep is shocking, what are they telling you? What's the symptoms?
Well, I mean, the sleep duration that they're getting is pretty good, but the sleep quality is not very good. So they're waking up through the night at random times.
Okay. And are they waking up alert and wired and struggling to get back to sleep again? Or are they waking up and going straight back to sleep again?
Yeah, they're not struggling to get back to sleep. So they'll wake up, maybe wake up, then they go to the toilet, they pee, and they're back to bed again. And then they do fall asleep within the next half hour, 40 minutes.
Okay, so we're potentially looking here. I would go blood sugars is probably the big thing if people are waking up during the night. Probably blood sugars. So like, when's their last meal of the day?
One of them's actually quite late because she gets in at 7:30 from work. So she's probably actually realistically not eating until about 8, half 8 at night.
So there could be something that it's still digesting. It could be a drop in blood sugar, just some like that spike where you're going to have eating that's going to drop back down, which is waking them up. Because if we think of this from a perspective, obviously you've been on the deep dive, so you sort of know all these hormones that come from the adrenals now, right? If we think about what should happen when we go to sleep, right? We're not going to be eating, so we're not going to be getting glucose in as a fuel source. So our body will start to release growth hormone as a nutrient partitioning hormone for you to start using fat as a fuel source, which is our slower, remember that car analogy and metabolic flexibility? This slow energy source, if we're not eating, we can just use our body fat stores to get us through the night. Now, if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, that could be stress, it could be food in the digestive system that's going to need a little bit of energy, it could be just poor blood sugar management in general. What we're going to see is us using the glucose that's in our bloodstream. And what happens when our glucose drops? Like if we go below this nice little homeostasis level of glucose, that drops and our body's like, oh shit, our blood sugars are low. I don't want Shona to die. I'm going to release adrenaline and noradrenaline to find glucose from somewhere. And then what happens when you release adrenaline and noradrenaline? You bolt up and wake up. And often then people will go to the toilet thinking, oh, it's because I drank too much water. Could be. It could be that electrolytes could be an issue and you're not holding on to water as much. But it's more like, well, I'm up. I might as well pee now. So I would start to look at some of the stuff, and Friday's lecture will be good for this, but some of the stuff that's around blood sugar control. So obviously stress management is going to be a big one. Maybe look at how close she is to eating. If she can't help eat late because of her work schedule, maybe look at lightening that meal a little bit. Maybe looking at using mixed meals rather. Well, it could be either depending on how badly blood sugar issues are. It could be mixed meals if they've got a bit of muscle mass and want to train and carbs are good, or go on a lower carb phase for them and see if that improves their sleep. That's probably where I'd go. We can get
Perfect.
nerdy with that
I'll
with
try.
blood sugar, but yeah.
I like the nerdy side of it. That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's the start. Start with basic blood sugar control stuff. And then like
Okay.
look at like their evening routine. Like, are they sleeping in a room with a light on? And what's the
Yeah.
temperature like, and blackout blinds and all that stuff. Start with the basics first and zoom out. But I would say blood sugar. An easy, quick win you could do is give them some fruit before bed. So fructose is primarily stored in the liver, right? So when we get glucose in the bloodstream, right, insulin will rise, and insulin will then put that glucose into 3 primary places. The brain will take some of it because it's its preferred energy source, right? Unless it's using ketones. The liver will take some of it, or 4 places technically. Liver will take a little bit of it. The muscles will take a little bit, and obviously how much of that depends on how jacked you are and how much demand there is for muscles being used. And then whatever's left will go into the emergency car part, which is body fat stores. So fructose tends to primarily be used in the liver, and our liver's using for fight or flight reactivity. So like when we have that, if someone came in with a shotgun in that gym, Shona, that fight or flight release of glucose would primarily be from the liver first. It's just quick. So if we're having an issue where blood sugars are dropping, if we can stock up our liver with enough glucose, it might just take the edge off it. So if they're waking up in like 1 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the morning, it might make them wake up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, or may just about get them through the night. It's not solving the problem of making them more metabolically flexible, glucose control, inflammatory control, etc. But it might just allow them to get a little bit better quality of sleep whilst you're working on whatever the underlying issue is there. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense? Perfect. Who do we have there? Nicola jumped in at the Zach that time, so they'll do Nicola then Harry. Is Nicola in earshot? Yes, she is.
Sorry, I am.
Yeah.
Just going back to that fruit thing, would you give them a fruit that's higher in sugar than other fruit?
I would probably go berries. One for the antioxidant properties, but also because of the fiber. So we're not like, I wouldn't go something that's like a banana, which is a lot more fast acting, because you're going to get that spike and then you're going to get that drop. So like if I quickly come to the whiteboard, if we think about if we think about our blood sugars, right? We'll have like this sort of level where we kind of would like that can't be seen at all, can it? Let's use a darker color. Look, we've got this sort of level where the body will like to stay in. That's the sort of homeostasis of blood sugar range, right? And then as we let's say we eat some food, let's say we eat something that's just like, I don't know, something really, really sugary. We eat like a fruit pastel, right? A bunch of fruit pastels, which is like super sugary. We get this massive increase in blood sugar. So now our blood sugars go beyond a nice happy range. Excess glucose in the bloodstream, and this doesn't have to be eating a fruit pastel, this could be being super stressed, anything that could rise blood sugars, right? The body will then go, it will release, in particular, insulin to go, right, we need to get this down, right? And the higher the spike, the faster the drop. So then in this position, where we go low, that's now stressing the body in itself, and the body will release glucagon, adrenaline, and noradrenaline to do the opposite. And we end up on this roller coaster. So this is where a lot of people are when they're super stressed, they're eating shit processed food, they're eating a bunch of sugar, and then it's just, it's not that sugar's bad, it's just that they're really, really hyper, they crash. What do they do when they crash? They eat more food. And then that makes them more likely to eat more calories. It makes them more likely to struggle with their energy. And this is the reason why you'll see people with poor blood sugar control have big, big energy swings. So if I had, let's say I had a meal now, if I can get a different color, that was, let's say we had some carbohydrates. Let's say we had the same fruit pastels, but we also had a chicken breast with some olive oil on it, right? we're now going to see this slightly, really, really slow and steady rise in blood sugar. And if it even does go over here, we won't get as much of an insulin response, which means we'll just start to come back down. And we'll have this like much more steady energy across the day. So adding some fiber into that fruit source is more likely to get this, which means we might get through the night as opposed to something really sugary, which might make us wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Does that make sense, Nicola?
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you.
Cool. You had a question as well, right, though, yeah?
Yeah, so I've just asked one of our clients to start taking creatine.
Yes.
And he said he did 4 days, and he just, and I know it draws water into the muscle, but he said he just felt awful on it, like really watery. And I'm
Interesting. Is he what's happening with anything changed with his food as well? Have we lost her? She's on a freeze mode. She's like, I don't know, we've lost her. I don't know if she can hear me, Nicola. Oh, we got a noise as she's back outside.
can you, sorry.
You're going to be inside your freeze. When you're outside, you're good. Has anything changed in his nutrition?
No, nothing.
Nothing's changed in his nutrition. How much water is he drinking?
Probably not enough, to be fair. I think he's a 1 to 2 liters at max person.
That's
so
where I'd start. Because creatine shouldn't. You shouldn't feel like, so creatine will help intracellular water. It's not like you get it and you'll feel puffy. Like it doesn't interact with aldosterone, right? So if you think about what creatine does, essentially, and I'll just quickly come back to here without going too sciencey because this one's a little bit deeper, right? So we've got our cells, right? It's me trying to attempt to draw a cell, right? And we've got our nucleus, and we've got our Golgi apparatus, and then we've got our mitochondria. And that's the key thing I want to talk about. So we've got a little mitochondria here. And within here, we make ATP, right? This little thing that looks like a sausage, right? So we make adenosine triphosphate. And we make adenosine triphosphate through glycolysis, which happens in here. And then the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain make the most of it, which happens in here. So what will happen essentially in this is that we'll use ATP in, let's say, a big 10-second burst. Let's say we train, we go for a bit of a sprint. And that's basically 1 adenosine molecule attached to 3 phosphate molecules. Then, once we've used this usable energy, it'll become ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate, di meaning 2. So we knock off this third phosphate, and we have this phosphate circling around. What creatine essentially does is it speeds up the process of adding this phosphate back onto here. Like, it's way more complicated than that, but that's essentially what happens. So, like, creatine, one being one of the most studied supplements in the world, essentially all it does is, like, if you're doing 50 kilos for 10 reps, you might get 50 kilos for 11 reps. It doesn't sound like much, but if you add a rep to every set, to every workout over the course of a year, that's a lot of volume. So, but the key thing here is that this all happens within, like, in the cells. This all happens in the mitochondria. So this is why it's like you don't see like subcutaneous water with creatine really. You see intracellular. That's why often creatine can actually be good for getting a pump. So I think on the whole, it's probably his dehydration, maybe stress management that's causing that. But if someone feels shit on anything, don't force it. Just say, okay, don't take it. Because if he feels like shit, that's going to affect his adherence, and that's going to make him like resent the plan for something that's not really going to do that much. Like you can get shredded without creatine.
Yeah.
So like if anyone feels shit on anything, take it out. If it doesn't like a food, take it out. If anyone doesn't like a supplement, take it out. Like there are many ways to skin a cat. The only exception to the take it out rule, I think, is in training when people moan about an exercise. And I'll always ask the question, do you hate it because you hate it, or do you hate it because it's hard? Because whatever I replace it with will also be hard. That's the only time I ask a follow-up question. Other than that, someone doesn't like something, ditched. Get rid of it.
Okay.
And creatine's cheap. It's not like he's wasted a bunch of money on it.
No, that's true. Okay.
You could
Thank
have it.
you. Yeah, I might steal it off him.
Yeah, exactly. Harry?
Yeah, so I've got a guy that's been with me since last August online, and it to me at 85, very puffy. Like, well, he trained but didn't have a clue what was doing his nutrition. Got him down to 72 over the course of I can't remember how many months it was. So we got down to there before Christmas, and then he wanted to bulk up again. He's in this like constant headspace. He never knows where he wants to go. So we got him down, and then bulked up again, and then for this holiday, he's just gone and he wanted to drop down. So we've got him to 74 kilos. I'd say he's around 15% body fat.
Okay.
And he's like, right, holiday's done. I feel skinny. I want to look good in a t-shirt, not without a t-shirt. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he wants to gain, right? He wants to put some muscle on. My question is, let's say with that tracker, when you're putting in for someone, you've got 0.5, 1% or 1.5% gain over a month with someone wanting to gain. When you're looking at 1.5% a month, because he's very lean, he's always stayed very lean. And like what my question is, if we were going to do 1.5%, how do you work out what sort of calories are aggressive enough for that person?
So the key thing I'd say for this, that goal setting tracker is amazing for fat loss, and I don't ever use it for hypertrophy.
Right. Okay.
It's there, so you know that roughly. I put that in there, so you know that roughly 0.5% to 1% to 1.5% per month is sort of the nice sort of like range you would like to be gaining weight at. But I don't look at it. I don't track it that way. Like all I use is to make it. All I'll look at weight for when someone goes into a building phase is just making sure they're not kind of getting fat too fast. Like if they're dramatically above that every week, that's like, oh shit, son. But actual terms of progress, fat loss is because it's a weekly thing and you can see that progress week on week. I always compare it to putting money into a savings pot on Monzo. Like every week you feel like you're getting richer, right? Whereas in building phases, it's like putting money into an index fund. You actually have less money in your bank account. You feel poorer because like you're covering up your hard work with body fat and you're putting it into this account you can't see that's got compounding interest in the background. So what I want to do is shift people away from a physique mindset and onto a performance mindset. Hypertrophy is a training effect. Because I could put all of you on a surplus right now, right? If me and Shona both went on a surplus for us, right? Like Shona, I don't think I've ever seen Shona not in actually the December event is the only time I've seen Shona not in a gym, right? So if we put us both on a surplus, Shona would get jacked. I've barely trained in the last 6 months, really. I would get fat. Same level of surplus. The difference is training.
Yeah.
Right. So what we do with that surplus is the level, obviously, of protein and training response. So I would look at when I'm looking at building with somebody, I'm looking at, okay, have they got an acute overload? Can they put tension on the muscle? Right. Can they train close to failure? And then a progressive overload, is total tonnage going up over time? And that's what I focus on when it comes to my check-ins and my feedback. The thing you might want to have the conversation with him is like start to go, right, in the ideal world, where would you like to look? And the reason why I say this is that if every time he gets a bit soft, he wants to diet, and every time he feels flat, he wants to build, he will stay in this moderately skinny, small, moderately fat range for the rest of his life. He will fluctuate between looks okay to looks a bit fat forever. So the conversation, if he's got this idea in his head that he wants to be like looks jacked and shredded, at some point you'll have to get flat. And at some point, he'll have to look fluffy.
Yeah.
Right? So he can't just stay completely comfortable. There's upper limits, right? Because the fluffier you get, how insulin resistance has an issue and your digestion has an issue and things like this, which hamper growth. And we don't want people looking sloppy. But on a dieting phase, if you never get flat, you'll never get lean. Martin, how much time in the last 4 weeks have you spent flat, mate?
Too fucking much.
And if anyone follows Martin on Instagram, by the way, go follow Martin on Instagram. Well worth it, right? He is diced. He had to go through it. I always show the pictures of my face when I was lean, and you can see my ears sticking out like here, my cheeks going in like this, and I'm just like, you have to go through it. It's the analogy I always give is like a sponge. This is how I'd explain it to him, by the way. Imagine you got a wet sponge full of water. That's like your muscles full of glycogen. Then you train, you diet, you like squeezing out the sponge. That sponge now looks considerably smaller. But there's no less material in that sponge than before. Right? So if his strength is still going up, he's not losing muscle. And he's eating his protein, he's not losing muscle. He's not. So I will just fill up that sponge again by giving you a big couple of high carb days, and all of a sudden you look bigger. That's why bodybuilders carb up before shows. That's how I'll explain it to him. But also remember that fat is lost when insulin is low. Because, and again, this is not a reason to put everyone on low carb diets. Far from it, right? Because carbs do a lot of good things. They're protein sparing and it tastes good, and the impact thyroid, which obviously thyroid has a good impact on losing some body weight if thyroid's in a healthy place. But like, insulin's a storage hormone. Insulin takes stuff and puts it in places, right? Glucagon is a breakdown hormone. What we're doing when we're trying to get leaner, we're in a breakdown mode. We're in a catabolic state. So we need insulin to be low. So if we actually start thinking about that, and just FYI, when it comes to that, if you did a ketogenic diet, it just gets you in that place quicker. If you did a caloric deficit with tons of carbs, insulin will still be low at times of the day. It has to be, because we're burning through all the fuel we have available, if that makes sense. But like, if he never gets flat enough for insulin to be low, he will never get lean enough. That's the conversation I'll probably be having with him, because he just seems to be in this sort of limbo territory where he's not really doing much of anything.
Yeah, and if he was going to go into want to actually be like, right, I do want to put on quite a lot of muscle, how long would you be suggest? Just keep it going until he's...
Depends how lean he is when he starts. So this is going to be different for everyone, but let's just arbitrarily say that 25% body fat is the level where people start like building muscle and just start getting fat, right? Let's say that everyone's level of insulin resistance sort of like upper limit is going to be dependent on what the stress is like, what the digest is like, do they have any autoimmune conditions, what the sleep is like, genetic differences. There's going to be various things of where this level is, where it gets too much. And you might start seeing this from the signs you look for, like high resting heart rate, high blood pressure starts to creep up. You might start seeing things like mood swings, things like that. You might start seeing, we're looking at guys here. If you start to see things like slightly yellow tinge behind the eyes, that could be a sign of sort of things like non-alcohol fatty liver issues. So like that could be a blood sugar control issue. There could be fatigue issues. There could be hunger cravings. These are things you start to see more and more of, and obviously just them getting fatter. But I think, but let's imagine this, if you've got someone starting at 18% body fat, and let's say 25 is the kind of range where he's like, that's too much, I'm too fat. We've got a 7% window of building before we're going to have to pull that plug. It's not that long, really. And then when we know that hypertrophy takes a fucking long time, right? So it's not like fat loss where we can do it in a matter of weeks. You know, I would like to see somebody at ideally 12 to 18 months of building. Like when Martin finishes shows, he wants to come back and have a better package the next time. He'll want to put 12 to 18 months into building phase. If he did 6 weeks into the show, the only thing he can really do is get leaner. He's not necessarily going to build any extra muscle in 6 weeks. Not natural. So if we got someone down to, let's say, 8 to 10%, we now have like a 17% window, which means he can build for a lot longer before having to pull the plug. So I would always say, if he's sitting around 15%, my goal is to get him to around about 10 and then come up. And also being leaner allows you to see what muscles are are weaker in comparison. So if I look at someone's photos and they've got a big front delt and a really flat rear delt, right? If I put muscle on an even split overall, they'll look, he's gained some muscle. But imagine I put, like, let's say he gained 4 kilos. Imagine I put 2.5 of that on his rear delts. All of a sudden, he'd be like, oh my God, he looks bigger, because of the balance between front and back.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the leaner you are, the easier to see. It's hard to see when someone's like 17, 18% body fat, what they actually need to work on.
Yeah.
Simon, quick one on that as well, mate. I don't know if this might help. Like, use the analogy of a runway. I've seen like Adam Powell and my coach Elliot Gibson use that quite a lot, and I think that suits really well with some clients. Like, you've got to say, the leaner you start, the longer runway you have to gain muscle tissue, eat more fucking food, feel fucking amazing because you're strong as fuck and you've got a shitload of food. But if you're not as lean when you start, then you're not going to have that runway before you get to that stage that Simon talks about, where you feel fat, you're sluggish, you start to lose motivation for training because you don't maybe look as good, you're not as lean, and all those other factors, and performance stalls, and before you know it, you just want to be lean again. So like, there's a lot of factors that Simon's gone through, and I agree with pretty much every single one of them.
You are on fire with analogies at the moment, man. That's the second in 2 days it's been bang on the money.
Mate, steal them, go use them. The more we get, the better.
I have so much fun making them into slides. I'm going to find picture runways and gear shifts and all sorts of things. I love
As
it.
long as you get me on there as a slideshow when I'm peeled onto the show, you can use
just your face as the plane. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Awesome, guys. Does that answer your question, man?
It does. And then there was just one to add on
Go
to
for
that.
it.
And this is back to I keep forgetting the name of the spreadsheet, the goal setting spreadsheet.
Yes.
When it says like putting in mini diets in there for someone who is bulking, and there's going to be more of them needed when you're going a bit more aggressive with it. What are your signs when you're like someone's getting to that point where they need a little mini diet in there? Is it when they are getting too fluffy, or is it
mainly? Yeah, like I will look at it if someone's getting a bit too fluffy, and I'm starting to see like they're getting fat on their arms a little bit and the extremities, because fat tends to come from the top down, right? So like you'll find the face will come back first, and then you'll start to see it around sort of like the upper chest and legs, and then like the gut will start to increase a little bit more. So you get that first. When someone gets really, really lean, the first thing you'll see is they'll lose their abs pretty quickly. And that's water retention. It's not anything else, really. It's just like they're eating a bit more food, right? There's more stuff going on in the digestive system. We blur the abs a little bit. And after that, if we actually start seeing it start to hang over the sides and stuff like that, it's like, okay, then maybe I'm starting to pull back a little bit. But it can also be done on symptoms. So we're seeing signs and symptoms that blood sugars is not as good as we thought it was, or we can even use blood work for that. But again, it depends if your clients are on it enough to be getting regular bloods done, which I would argue everyone should, probably once every 12 to 18 months. I'm probably due that myself. But yeah, there's various things you could potentially look for. But it's a judgment call between you and your client, really. Your client needs to show you you're just the guide.
Yeah.
But again, just you want to step in if every time they get above 12%, they're wanting a diet break. Good fucking luck putting on any muscle.
Cool. All right. Thank you. That's really useful.
Awesome. Martin, Shon's asking for your Instagram. Don't.
Mate,
that's
for
work purposes only. Don't worry, you're both taken.
She's got like 95k followers, mate. She's smashing it.
I know. I'm still waiting for that video testimonial so I can collaborate and get some of them over to me.
Oh yeah, I need to do that. Sorry, I need to do that. 90% of them are Mexican men. I don't be silly. They're not that all female.
Mexican men.
I don't know why. I don't know why. Weird.
Is it just like has Mexican got the fetish for the slightly more jacked female with the Scottish accent? Is that their type?
Don't know. It's a 75% Mexican following.
Burrito recipe. Right. I want to see a burrito recipe reel like immediately. Any more questions, guys? Any more? And it can be about burrito recipes if you like. I don't care. It's open floor. Aisling, you doing good? Any questions yourself? She's still there. There she is.
No, I'm all good. Thanks. I just wanted to jump in because I haven't been on in a while.
Have you had a good summer? It seems like this is a break because you've had a good summer. That's what I get the impression.
Yeah, very good summer. I'm done with summer now. Summered out. Summered out.
Oh, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Carol, anyone yourself? Any questions?
No, all good. Cheers.
All good. Colin, any questions yourself? I've muted you, by the way. So if you unmute if you do have something to ask.
No, not really at the moment. I'm sort of, as I texted earlier on, it's got 0 clients at the moment. One of them came back to me last week saying it's online stuff. Doesn't seem, how can I put it, worthwhile at the moment. I don't know why. I mean, we've reached certain goals, but he felt that the sort of online having check-ins wasn't as consistent as should be. So,
what did he mean by that? I would ask one question on that. What do you mean by consistent?
What do I mean?
What did he mean? Because he said he said it didn't think the online was as consistent. What does he mean by consistent?
No, sorry. He meant that he didn't think it was worth the money.
Okay.
To actually sort of do a sort of online, but he then referred to doing, let's go to a quarterly review. Okay. Which to me, I said, yeah, we could do that, but again, I think you need to be more consistent in order to reach and accountable. So I agree. I'm sort of waiting to get back to him on that score.
So I think there's 2 things we can look at there with the online thing. The first thing, obviously, with that quarterly thing, I'd do it. I think it's money, and whatever you think a price is reasonable for that. But the question I would have is obviously just be aware that you're going to have to be more self-motivated. Expectation management's the biggest thing with this. Like, you're going to have to be more self-motivated because we're not going to see that same level of accountability you would do with a full online check-in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As regards to that thing about, okay, he felt that that potentially it wasn't worth it. We need to potentially impact what it is about your service he didn't think was worth it at this time. Now that could be, I don't feel like, and this could go two ways. This could be him being like, I'm just enjoying the summer. I don't want to let Colin know that I'm not following the diet. I feel a bit guilty. See you later. That's what, like, we've said at the start of this call, right? Everybody here has had drop-offs this month, and a lot of them are exactly that, right? I've had students that are like that will go, I can't make a couple of calls live, so I'm not going to bother studying at all, right? So that you can't do much about that. But I'm not in control of that. What am I in control of? I'm in control of what my product is. So the feedback that I potentially would give for something like this is that, like, okay, well, what can I put into my onboarding so people can take action quicker? How can I make it easier for people to attend live calls? How can I maybe remind people that the calls are now up on the portal so they go, oh, I'm going to block it in my own study time? Same thing with yourself. So with this guy, were you just doing once a week check-in?
It was supposed to, we're trying to do once a week. So yeah.
So I would look at sort of like, if I go up to the whiteboard, if I look at the what I look, and again, this would be a great one to open to the floor because we have people here with big client numbers right now that keep people happy. I know Ashley's got like a group program and she's absolutely fucking smashing it, so there's better answers to me. But if we think here we've got, let's give it a week. So and again, I don't, this could be different depending on what you want to do and what your thing is. But at the moment, let's say you've got someone, they're filling in their check-in on a Sunday, and then they're getting their review on a Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's great, but that's only really one touch point per week. And some people are all right with that. Like, whenever I've had coaches, I've never really had touch points midweek. They're just like, tell me what to do, I go and fucking do it, I fill in a check-in, I come back, right? But also, these are people that often work with coaches. And when I started in the industry, I gave people steak and nuts for breakfast. He just went, how many nuts? And he got on with it. Unfortunately, we're in a more instant gratification world than ever before. And PTing is harder than it was 15 years ago. So we do need more touch points across the week. So one couple of things that I would potentially look at doing is I go the three-point touch point system. So Monday, in your check-in, you will kind of go, you will set the goal for the week. So you'll break this down. So let's say they've got a goal of losing 20 kilos. 1% of their body weight is 0.7. So you set the goal, cool, we need to lose 0.7 per week. So let's say that means the goal next week is to be around 92.1, a hypothetical number, right? Depending on the client. Yeah. What do they need from their check-in to do that? So what were they struggling with last week that would help them get a little bit closer? So let's say it was a morning walk because their steps are low, right? And then Wednesday, we will do basically our touch point. So this is our little mini check-in. So we're going to go like, hey, Steve, how are you getting on with the morning walks? And he's going to tell you two things. Smashed it, mate. Awesome. Fantastic, man. Good to see. Looking at the tracker, you're doing well here. There's no particular issues. I want you to keep doing this. By Friday, we should be in a really good place to hit our target. Or we're going to go, smashed it Monday, but Tuesday I was struggling. Tell me what made you struggle on Tuesday? Oh, I just got I slept late, and then I woke up a bit late, and I got really, really busy on the way to work. Okay, well, what could you do next time to make that a little bit easier for you? Oh, maybe I could go to bed a little bit earlier. Okay, what can we put in place in your diary to help you do that? I'll set an alarm. Okay, cool, let's try that for the rest of the week, right? We're also a couple thousand steps behind, so what can we do on the weekend to bring that up? I can maybe go for a long walk with the dog. Fantastic, let's do that. So now we have the dog walk, in this example, and then sleep management, right? And then Friday, I do what I call reflect and review. And then it's like, how did you do this week? With the, like, we can look back. How did you get on with the morning walks? What could you do better this next week? What did you do well this week and celebrate it? And if you have any menus for social occasions this weekend, you want me to have a look over.
Mm.
Now we've taken it from one check-in where he feels like I'm paying a lot of money to Colin just to message me once.
Mm.
We now have a minimum of 3 points during the week where I get feedback. So it feels like I'm actually in this with the client. That's going to be a lot part of it. And the big thing as well, when you're looking at data and trackers, have a bit in your diary where you look over them. And it could be in these points. It could be daily. Everyone depends on, everyone does a different thing. But if you're not using the tracker, the client will go, why the fuck am I filling this in? Because if you're looking at, if you writing notes in the tracker and be like, hey, saw that your energy was a little bit bad this week. Run me through what your hydration's like. Imagine if you got a message from your coach randomly that was like, oh my God, he's looking at this. And he's trying to help immediately.
Mm.
If you can make your client feel like they're your only client because of the care and attention, people are going to feel this an invaluable investment. And they're more likely to stay with you because they build up that connection. Is that useful?
No, that's great. Yeah.
Also, as people get more advanced into it as well, one thing I will say before I open the floor on this, we can look at a traffic light system. So when people, have I got the caps on the wrong thing? Which one's my orange one? This is my orange one. And then green. Where's my green one gone? Purple. Oh, fuck it. I was going to do traffic lights in traffic light colours, but I don't think that's actually possible with the fact that I've somehow lost my green. Oh, there it is. So, like, if we look at when you put in here, I often put a question in my check-ins going, how adherent were you to the plan this week? Right? If they, regardless whether, some people will put 1 or 2 because they've not been adherent, and some people will put 1 and 2 because they perceive they've not been adherent. Like, they've had a great week, but they just missed 1 training session and feel like their life's falling apart. Either way, they need more attention. 1 feels their life's falling apart, and 1 is struggling. Right? And then, so if someone puts 5, they're green, and they might be okay to just go check in the check-in. Maybe with the odd message here or there, right? If they're red, maybe you'd like send them a call link. Right? If they're like 1 or 2, call link, or maybe just check in daily for the week, just to make sure they're okay. And if they're orange, like 3 or 4, go with a 3 point. And that's the way of filtering clients, so you don't have to do like message them daily for every single one of them.
What did you put down for green again?
They could probably go check in the check-in. Maybe just throw the odd message in midweek.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just wanted to check in, see how you were doing, etc., etc., etc.
Cool.
And like, so then they feel they've got. I have messed up these caps massively. Right, that's red. That goes in there. Yeah, so that's the way I do it, and then people feel they've got their little bit of a touch point thing, and then after that, it's just like slowly becoming a better coach and being more educated yourself. And then as you do that, you'll kind of give more value in the check-ins, and you'll make better adjustments, and that will speak for itself, really. Hopefully that's helpful. Aisling, if you're still there, what do you do? Because you manage a lot of clients. How do you keep people engaged in it?
So with my group coaching, I have a WhatsApp group. So I'd be in the WhatsApp group daily, and if not daily, every second day. And obviously then they get their fortnightly check-ins with me. But like if they have any questions, to be fair, I do ask in the group. But I do make it known. I suppose it's different because with my one-to-ones, I do check in midweek with them. They'll get their one-to-one check-in. I'll touch base with them midweek. Some weeks they don't need it if they're absolutely flying it, but the ones that are struggling that bit more, I will touch base with them midweek. But with group coaching, it's a lot of interaction in the WhatsApp group. Like getting them share wins, setting little mini challenges for them. That's the only way I'd keep them engaged, because again, it's very hard when you have bigger numbers and you're not checking in with them until every fortnightly. So you have to kind of make a conscious effort to keep the momentum going in the group.
I think if you're on the lower end of client numbers as well, it's like go overboard, like until you can't physically do it anymore, and just like make sure that you're the person that initiating that conversation, and eventually that will come back because they know you're there. And this is why I like that first 21-day rule where people are sending you food pictures for the first 3 weeks, because that means they have something to send you daily and you're replying to them daily. So they'd be in the first 3 to 4 weeks, get them to send you food pictures, food diaries, what their body was, what their activity was, and any notes to your WhatsApp. And then at the end of each day, you reply to every single one of them. And then they feel in that first 3 weeks, like, my God, Colin is like so on top of this. And then you can back off that a little bit, but they've already bought into you then. So now they're asking questions when they need it. So like, for example, here, like, I'll put it to this business, right? Like, this business now is not necessarily set up to, for me to be the one reliant on messaging every one of you guys, but you have 4, and if you're on Supercharge, potentially 5 calls a week, which are your touch points, right? So like at this point, right, I don't need to message Shona every day because Shona turns up to every single blooming call. She's like MVP for this at the moment. So is Martin, right? If I started WhatsApping them every single day, they're probably like, God, fucking I'll see you enough, Simon. Piss off. But if they have a question, they can come to me with it in between. And me and Martin will chat wrestling, so that's slightly different. But yeah, so Shona, you said you do a traffic light system twice a week. Run us through that. Oh, we've got the opposite of Nicola. We've got Wi-Fi indoors and not working, and we've got Wi-Fi outdoors being sketchy. Oh, we've lost Shona entirely. Martin, what do? You've got a decent number.
You hear me?
Oh, I've maybe got it back. Let me got it back. Oh, you've jumped from
Got it back.
outside to
Sorry.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you run the traffic light system twice a week?
So I'll normally send them a message with like a nutrition, mindset, and training with 3 traffic light colours next to it, and I'll say, where are we on like the green, the amber, or the red? And if they're fine and they don't want to touch base with me on anything, I'll just put green for everything, so I can automatically assume that that client is fine. If there's any that come back with a red, then I can dive a bit deeper and say, right, why do you think that is? Is there anything that we can improve on for next week? So I'm on top of them at least twice a week.
I like that, and then you know what you're talking to about as well, so you can log into your app and go, let's look at training. Yeah, I like that's another great way of doing it. Nicola's asking, how do you do that? Do you do that on WhatsApp? Do you do that via your app? How are you doing it?
I do that on the app. So I work with my PT hub, so I'll just send them, training, mindset, nutrition, let's touch base and see where we are in the traffic light system. And then they've just got to put a round green circle or a round amber or a red.
You could do that on WhatsApp as well. Like, obviously, like for people in the elevation group with Dean, he does that exact thing on a WhatsApp group, and you can do it in a community fashion. She said my PT hub, but I could do the same thing on OneFit. You can probably do the same thing on Trainerize. I'm not entirely sure. Colin, what are you going to say?
So, Shona, is there 3 topics you would say, or are they different topics you would put on the green on the traffic light system, or not? Will they be the same thing?
I'll always just ask them on their training, their mindset, and their nutrition, because if they've got a stress in the family, it just throws everything else out of whack anyway. So they're the 3 that I'll always ask.
Fair enough. Yeah, cool, excellent,
awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Martin.
guys.
Did you do anything different?
Hey man, check-in form weekly, but I will drop them calls out of the blue, regardless how they're doing. Like some good, some bad. Sometimes it'll be on weekends, sometimes it'll be during the days, just so I catch them in different mindsets. Because some people are like locked in Monday, Friday, and then some people fucking go tits up on the weekend. If I know that and I know they're more likely to do that, I'll drop them a message on the weekend deliberately. It takes me 5 seconds. I'll make a little note of who I want to message, and then just ping it across. I also, first question on my check-in form is, do you need a support call? So my hand is like open straight away. It's like, if you want it, let's go. Like, I'm here 20, 30 minutes. We can book in and go over anything you need to. And that kind of lets me know like how bad they really are. Because if they're not answering yes to a support call, my hand's extended, then they can't really complain to me after that. They haven't had the answers or the support for that. Part of that, I do also have a very short check-in form and a very long check-in form, depending on who gets it. So I've got like busy doctors and people like that. They fill out enough admin as it is. So I've shortened the condensed form down to like 5 questions, and they can only answer 1 to 5. So they can't overthink things. They just have to give me data, and then I'll look at everything and give them the feedback on that. So that can massively help if people are in a rush as well and they feel like they can't get too much info in, or they've got a very extended form. I leave that up to them.
Yeah, I like that. I was trying to find. I had a client. I'm trying to find too many folders of people. But one of my clients, May, who we did a couple of photo shoots with. But on the path to there she is. So this was. Have I got this was her photo shoot picture. and we during her first photo shoot, I was at I think it was at Ali Pali. I was just like at a food festival, and I thought, right, she's got 3-4 weeks to go. I randomly checked the tracker, and I realized she hadn't filled in the last couple of days. So I dropped her WhatsApp there, and then I'm like, hey, you got any data for me today? And it just showed her that I'm paying attention. And like that, those little things matter when it comes to like keeping clients, especially when they're either new or when they're going for a big goal in the last few weeks. They just need that little bit of extra support. Anyone else want to add anything there? I know Harry's got a big bunch of clients. I know Carol works one-to-one a little bit online. So if you want to throw in anything, your 2 cents, jump it, open floor.
I've got a checklist. I do every Thursday. I've just always had this thing that I always tell all clients that like people think that Wednesday's a midweek because it's the working week, but actually you've still got a half week from Thursday is what my brain thinks like, because it's kind of half, well, realistically it's halfway through the week. So Thursday I just send everyone a message saying how's the week going so far, and then I've just got a checklist to see, like, just to make sure I've messaged everyone. But I think from what you guys are talking about, it's just taking it that layer deeper and just being able to make it more personalized and go like, that goal we spoke about on Monday on your check-in, how's that going? Like, I think that's golden, just to take it a notch up. I need to implement traffic light, I think. Yeah,
other thing that I tend to do with people, and again, this is maybe easier because I have lower client numbers, but I think one of the best things for retention is understanding training. So like the 3 things I think are important for retention: having a clear goal, so you're both working towards something and they're getting wins so they can get buy-in. Communication and just not being a dickhead. If they like you, they're likely to stay. No worries, Ashling. And training. If you haven't got any training, like long-term training plans for them, when the dieting phase is over, why the fuck are they staying? They've got nothing. So like what I started doing now is like my check. I have a monthly call, and a monthly call allows us to kind of go over what went well last month, what can we do well next month, and it just allows me to set goals for next month. This makes my check-ins shorter because I'm not having to review everything. We review everything on the monthly call for 45 minutes. And then our check-ins are just getting them through to the next monthly call. They're just a little bit of a touch base. And it's a bit more personal. So if there's any particular questions, like I'm struggling with shoulder pain when I train, the clients will just say that. And they won't send you videos. And I can actually get them in front of them and go, talk me through this pain. Or I'm struggling on the weekends. I can talk through the issue rather than just saying things I'm hoping someone's going to reply back to a WhatsApp. And I'll have a slightly longer hour one every 12 weeks, which is a quarterly call, where I get some information on the last block of training. And I will use that information to build their next block of training. What I'll also do from there is now I also do videos about training that are separate to check-ins. Because what I got really annoyed with was check-ins getting longer because I had to talk through a new training block. So now I set programming time every Friday afternoon in my diary, and once a month I won't necessarily have to send out new programs because some programs last longer than a month. But I will then send a little bit of a training video of any adjustments we're making to the program, or if a new program is, they'll get a proper video. Here's how the block looks. Here's why we're doing it. And they get a video that's separate. It's like a second check-in video once a month that's purely about what we're doing with the training. And it just makes training its own little excitable thing rather than think it's tagged into all the other stuff. I mostly got that from N1 because N1 just love their training so much. And I've not coached with them, but I've just watched how they work. And you see they do, anytime they have a new block, they have a video going through the periodization, why they do it and stuff like that. And I was like, I'd be so engaged if I got that. And I was like, well, why aren't I giving that? So that's how I'll do it. Check-ins every Monday, right? Touch points throughout the week, monthly call to go through things in more detail, a quarterly call to go through the block and set the new block. And then once a month, I'll drop my little training video. Could be 2 minutes long. Just like, here's what we're doing with our training. And it could just be, this is why we're adding an extra bicep curl exercise. Or it could be, here's an entirely new phase. Let me explain why I'm doing it. Any other questions, guys? Carol, we all good?
All good.
All good, man. You starting to piece together some of the hormone stuff now a little bit better now, like as we've gone through a bit of it?
Yeah.
How was the hunger one yesterday? That's a little bit easier.
The hunger hormone.
Yeah. Was that a little bit easier to digest? I think that's
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was much easier than the last one, yeah.
But if I didn't go through thyroid first, you wouldn't know what this metabolism bit was it was trying to upregulate. So we needed to do it in this order. But yeah, and then for Friday, it'd be blood sugars, which it's relatively simple as well. It can get complicated, but it's relatively simple as well. So we've got through the real hard yards. The HPA and HPTXs are definitely the hardest yards. The gut gets a little bit more complicated, but it's a little bit systematic. So we'll be all right there. And then we go into adjustments. Right, guys, have a fantastic Tuesday. This has been a great call. Really enjoyed this. And have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
No worries.
Cheers, Simon.
No worries, fam.